Welcome to Donington Park then for our final race of the weekend for the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge, the third race for this field of identical Ginetta G40s. The GT5 Challenge, the top tier of Ginetta G40 racing, and it always produces lots of brilliant racing. It's produced two different race winners this weekend so far. We have had drama aplenty though, because since the previous race, the on-road race winner, Ginetta GT5, has been disqualified from the results for a technical infringement, meaning that Gordy Much has inherited his second race victory of the season. He won the first race of the year at Donington Park, hasn't been on the podium since, and now gets another race victory here at Donington Park for GT5. That of course has serious championship ramifications. He was the points leader. He will no longer be the points leader. Scott McKenna, who was already closing that margin, will take some good points out of him. And this third and final race of the weekend is going to prove a really, really intense one, I think, possibly for GT5, who will now also have to come from the back of the grid, because the result of the previous race sets the grid for our third and final race. So it will be Gordy Much and Josh Malin that make up the front row of this grid, with Ginetta GT5 coming from almost stone dead last. There are one or two, I think, who have lined up behind him on the grid, possible non-finishers from the previous race. GT5 disqualified from the result, and he won't be able to count that as a drop score either. So Gordy Much and Josh Malin then make up the front row of the grid. Adam Smalley and Danny Harrison will share row number 2. 4 different teams in the top 4 actually: Fox Motorsport, Richardson Racing, Elite Motorsport and Mutation Motorsport. In fact, make that really 6 different teams in the top 6, because Scott McKenna and Connor Grady, Zentech and TCR make up the third row of the grid. Then it's Ruben Del Sartre, another TCR car, with Will Durdle alongside on row number 4. Row 5 for Gus Bowers and Matt Maxted. And then outside the top 10, Katie Milner with her Merlin International teammate Ashley Marshall alongside on that 6th row of the grid. On row 7 is where we find our first AM driver, Dan Morris, running for Declan Jones Racing, won the AM category in this morning's second race of the weekend. Sammy Saralainen, the pro driver, alongside. Wesley Pearce was second in AM, ahead of Charlie Budd, David Elsley and Dale Albert, who was third in the AM category in the previous race. Then we've got Josh Steed and James Townsend next in line, ahead of Phil McCarthy and Bal Sidhu. And then as you get towards the very back of the field, you get those that non-finished from the previous race. So Jesse Chamberlain, Lewis Ryder and Ryan Firth were all non-finishers, and Ginetta GT5 will be starting down at the back of the field with them as well. Well, Joe Osborne back alongside me, Andy McEwen in the box here for this third and final race of the weekend. Drama for GT5, a non-finish. As a driver, how do you put that out of your mind? Because you have to, don't you? You can't let that play on your mind now coming into this race. It's got to be just a clean slate and mission to get to the front of the field, I guess. Yeah,
with the championship position, so finding poise now for him, he's really on that damage limitation. So it's so hard when you're that far back in a one-make series to be able to make up the positions without making contact with someone. There's going to be racing all the way to the front where he should be, really. So first lap, stay clean. Hopefully everyone's still bunched together and you just pick them off one by one. I'd say that's probably my mentality when it's in this thing, is just each car, each lap, one at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself and start planning what you're going to be doing too far in the distance, because it will all change. As we see with these guys, it normally starts to kick off towards the end of the weekend.
Yes, this third race can sometimes be the most entertaining. The first two haven't been dull though, it must be said. Lots of close racing, slipstream we have plenty. These cars are about as aerodynamic as a brick, and they're not the most powerful either, so they punch a big hole in the air. Momentum is key, especially here at Donington Park, and as we saw in the previous race, when you get a big gaggle of cars nose to tail, attacking and defending at the same time can be a bit of a headache inducer, and you can often go for a move and end up losing positions rather than gaining them. So Gordy Much then, the white and black number 48 car on the inside of row 1. The white and blue Richardson Racing machine of Josh Malin lines up alongside him. Elite Motorsports' Adam Smalley's had an interesting season, certainly not as high up the championship standings as you might expect for the former Ginetta Junior race. Danny Harrison alongside, looking for his second podium of the year. Red lights go on then. We are about to go racing in the third race for the Ginetta GT5s. Even start by both front row men. It looked like Josh Malin might have got his nose in front though. Can he turn across the bows of Gordy Much into the first corner? I think he might be clear of the Scottish driver. Yes, he is. So into the lead goes Malin. Much in second, or is he? Connor Grady from 6th on the grid, challenging for second place. He runs out onto the grass, so do a couple of others further back. Sammy Saralainen there, and 2 cars off from the very back of the field, one of which I think was Simon Keir of the white car. car didn't quite catch the other number. Still side by side for a second, then Grady on the right, on the left is Gordy Much. Who's this one going to favour? Surely it's Much on the inside line who will hang on, and that could also allow Adam Smalley to draw alongside Grady for third. Grady was going up the order from 6th on the grid, briefly into 2nd, and now starting to slip back down the order again. That's the trouble, Joe, isn't it? Though you go to the outside at Redgate because no one else is there, but then you're stuck on the outside through the old hairpin and the run up towards McLean's.
Yeah, and even going through the Craners side by side is hard to stay flat, so that's probably cost him there. Malin's had a perfect start, but like we saw in race 1 with Nicosia, breaking that slipstream that you mentioned just totally eats you back up, so he hasn't quite done enough to completely break the toes. We see him going side to side down the straight, just trying to get rid of that slipstream effect for the guys behind. Looks like we've got 3 wide into the chicane. Looks like they're all being relatively sensible in terms of blocking each other. They're all through safely, but I think Malin's had great pace this weekend, but he's already behind someone. So it'll be interesting now he's at the front, if he can convert this into, I think it'll be the 3rd race in a row to become the fastest lap.
Yes, indeed. Fastest lap in both of the races so far this weekend. A 4th place in race 1 and an inherited 2nd place in race 2. That 3 wide battle, by the way, included Jerry Nicosia, who was the car on the outside line, trying to make progress if he can. He was 14th at the end of sector 2. He's going to the outside again of Katie Milner, that might be, going into the final corner, so he really has gained ground. You'll just catch a glimpse of him in a moment or two on the outside line. That'll be the inside for Redgate corner. Josh Malin then leads the way. He had been pulling away in the first sector, but then got reeled in by Gordy Much. Again, that slipstream helping Gordy to close the gap. Smalley 3rd, Grady 4th, and Scott McKenna 5th. That is Gus Bowers on the inside of Josh Steed. Eases him over the grass. What of Nicosia? Well, would you believe, from about 30th on the grid, he is already 14th position. That early progress is crucial because, as we saw in race 1, with cars that are so evenly matched, whilst in theory overtaking should be doable, and that was a nice move pulled by Nicosia at the inside for 13th place. Once you get inside the top 10, they get harder and harder to gain those positions.
Yeah, he's done much, much better than I thought was possible in brutal honesty. I think with that first lap, he could probably look at a top 6 here. If the top 6 stay together, a bit of battling. His pace looks phenomenal. Yeah, and he's going through everyone. He hasn't hit anyone yet that's holding him up. It's like Katie Milner, I think, front bonnet damage. Damage on that one.
Yeah, that's number 17. That's Wesley Pearce, who was leading the AM category at the time. The elite motorsport car, the teammate of this man, Adam Smalley. And unfortunately, Wesley Pearce off. That's up at McLean's. That's where Katie Milner was off as well. So we have to assume those two things were linked. They were running together. Milner was 16th, Pearce was 17th. I know Sherlock Holmes, but I think those two may well have come together. There you can see the damage to the front and the back of the car. Replay of what happened here. They're going to appear left of shot. Ooh, that was... So Milner had the spin after contact, and boom, straight into the side goes Pearce. There was nothing Pearce could do there, but what was your reading of the initial contact there that sent Katie Milner spinning?
It was an odd one, really. You wouldn't have thought the car would spin under that sort of load, and I think we're going to have a safety car here, obviously, but I need to see it again just to see where the point of contact was on Milner's car. It looked like Milner was alongside enough where it shouldn't have spun the car, so I don't know if there was a curb intervention or if she lifted and the car went light. But that was a hard one, and yeah, when you're unsighted like that, the only thing you can try and tell yourself is to aim where the car was, because the car's coming across the track, and obviously when you're trying to get to the gap, that gap is always diminishing. But good to see him get out of the car, open the door.
She was on the curb, wasn't she? Yeah, just
it was racing incident slash a bit more her fault because she was the one making the move. But that spun violently. I imagine that hurt. Getting hit in the side, there's not any crash structure on the side. Front and rear, you've got a lot of deformable structure. But there, that would have been right in your ribs. I wouldn't be surprised if she was winded. The car has stood up remarkably well, considering how bad his car is.
That is former British Superbike racer Wesley Pearce, who is trudging away, unfortunately, so he probably bounces quite well, as someone who I think anyone who's raced a Superbike has probably fallen off a Superbike at some point. So Wesley, good to see that he's okay. We can make light of it because we know that he is okay. That was a big old hit, but yeah, I was amazed at how well Katie Milner came out of all of that. She has pitted, so it may well have been there was some more internal damage to the suspension. Maybe she just felt that surely there must be damage because that was such a big whack, but if there isn't, the team will send her back on her way as soon as they can. Gives us a chance then just to A, breathe, and B, run you through the top 10. Josh Malin then, your race leader, looking for a victory if he can get one. He has not won a race yet this year, so this would be quite a significant victory if he can pull it off. Gordie Butch is there in second. Third is Adam Smalley, the yellow and black car. Fourth, Conor Grady. Fifth, Scott McKenna. So Scott McKenna, the man who was the big beneficiary of Jerry Nicosia's disqualification. Therefore, the championship leader, Scott McKenna, is running in fifth position. Danny Harrison is sixth. Seventh, Ruben Del Sart. 8th, Will Durdle. 9th, Matt Maxted. 10th place, Josh Steed. And out onto the track again goes Katie Milner. Crucially, she hasn't lost a lap. In a 15-minute race, if you lose a lap, you may as well pack up and go home. She's got back out there. The car, the team must feel, is more or less okay, although the front bodywork looks a bit loose to my eye. She'll catch up to the back of the Crocodile, and she's quick. She should be able to make ground.
Yeah, definitely, and it's all good racecraft and learning for her now. She probably got 10, 15 cars in front of her that she's quicker than, so she's got to learn how to overtake. Just wonder how long this safety car is going to be. If the car's in a bad way, it's in a bit of an odd position where there's not really a recovery truck that's that close to it. Something's going to have to come straight into shot. As I said, it's going to be a long time, which is brilliant. And hopefully they can just pick it up from the front axle and just drag it out of the way to the inside. So definitely this lap, maybe one more on the safety car, which I guess will leave a sort of 5-lap sprint. Just about a negative for Nicosia in terms of the safety car was good originally, that it bunched everyone up, but now it's more than one lap. This is eating away at time that he could obviously be using to overtake cars.
In fairness, in the 2 laps of racing we had, he went from about 30th to 11th. So what could he do with another 2 laps now towards the end of the race? Granted, they are now quicker drivers that he's having to overtake, but they're drivers that he has been quicker than so far this weekend. So yeah, I agree, a top 5 is still definitely doable, and if there are some real shenanigans at the very front of the field, who knows, maybe a podium finish. Josh Malin will be hoping not, though. Josh is desperately trying to get himself back into championship equation this weekend. He's had a non-finish earlier on this season at Donington Park, got his first podium last time out at Silverstone, though. That's often the way, isn't it, in what is not necessarily a junior category as such, but certainly these are up-and-coming drivers who are maybe in the first few years of their racing career. You do tend to see this rate of progression, don't you? That some drivers at the start of the season, if they're new to the category, new to the car, they may be midfield at best. By halfway, they're on the podium, and then by the end of the year, they're one of the fastest drivers out there, and I find that fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and I just know from my previous experience, you think your learning curve is going to be nice and gradual, start at the bottom and work up evenly. And some weekends you will just be like, what am I doing? I've got no idea. And then the next weekend something clicks. It can be something tiny like how you downshift or the brake pressure needed or how the car feels. And suddenly, relatively, you're half a second quicker than you were. And you're no longer 8th, 9th, 10th. You're suddenly 3rd, 4th, 5th. And then because you're that much further up, you're close to the front, you can see what the guys in front are now doing, and you suddenly get pulled along and you're like, oh well, it's finally all clicked and I'm there. And that is so, you see that so much, especially with younger guys who haven't got the experience of other cars. They're going to learn so much midway through the season. That's probably going to be where they start plateauing in terms of how good they are. But if they haven't been testing, they're going to be learning a hell of a lot over these next few rounds still.
These are good cars as well for learning your crafting. We talk about how they're not very aerodynamic, not very powerful, but that's not a criticism, that's a good thing because they move around, it teaches you about racecraft, car control, and you can see why the Ginetta G40 is such a popular car, to the point that there are now about 3 or 4 different championships that cater for them, depending on your level of experience. They really do teach you everything you need to know if you want to make a career out of this.
Oh, 100%, and yeah, I'm sort of testimony to that. And if it's one of those cars, it's a little bit quirky in terms of it's a very short wheelbase, very narrow, but over grip. So on the slick tyre, you've got so much grip, but then suddenly, like every slick tyre, when it gives up, it really gives up in a snappy manner. And that means your car control's got to be good, but your feel's got to be good because it comes so quickly. If you're not feeling it through your back and your backside, then it surprises you and you spin and you can't keep doing that. So once you learn your trade in this, you can honestly, hand on heart, get into any car and you go, this is only easier than a Ginetta G40. And it's not a criticism of the G40 being a bad car, it's just absolutely perfect to learn your trade in. You've got everything, you've got no traction control, no ABS, so you have to learn how throttle works, how braking works, a sequential gearbox, you've got to appreciate a clutch, and all those minor things start to build your foundation of knowledge as a car driver. And it makes your life so much easier once you get later in life. In a GT3 car, for example, for myself, I've got ABS, so I don't have to worry about that. Traction control, got paddle shift. So everything I've learned in the Ginetta about feel and car control is 100% my focus. So it suddenly opens up your eyes to what is possible and how quick can you drive. And I think that's why they're still so popular, even at a junior level, that even kids that want to go to Formula 1, yes, a Ginetta Junior is nowhere near a Formula 1 car, but you're learning your trade at a very young age in a very sort of apt car that forces you to learn the right way.
No, absolutely. Well, it looks as though hopefully we might go racing soon. I'm not sure about this lap. I hope it's this lap because there are only just less than 5 minutes to go. We're already 2/3 of the way through the race. The lights do indeed go off. So the hard-working British Marshals, and let us take this opportunity to thank the Marshals, all of whom are volunteers. They do this simply for the love of the sport, nothing else. And they are out. They've been out there all weekend long dealing with the incidents as efficiently, crucially as safely as they always do. And they have got the track clear. We are ready to go racing. So it's going to be about a 4-minute sprint this. Josh Malin looking for his first victory of the year. Gordon Much looking for his third, would you believe? And actually, the man who arrived here 5th place in the championship is going to catapult himself into contention as well at this rate.
Be interesting to see if Malin's worked out. If he does a slow enough last sector here, it should only be a 2-lap race. He's very close. If he goes across the line with less than 3 minutes 40, should be 2 laps, but it looks like it's going to be tight between that 2 or 3 lap race. Obviously, as a leader, you want as few laps as possible, but his restart was perfect. He's really got the jump on him there.
He hasn't been able to escape much before the safety car, though. What about after it? Well, he'll be helped by the fact that Gordy is defending busily already, trying to keep Adam Smalley at bay. Adam has his nose in front, but it's the outside line at Redgate corner. So he goes in wide, he comes out tight, or he tried to, but couldn't get the over-under in the end. A couple of cars running onto the dirt further back. But look at that, Adam Smalley almost pushing Gordy Much through Hollywood, down the Craner curves. The old hairpin is definitely an overtaking opportunity in these cars. Will Much defend? Yes, drive down the middle of the road to deter Smalley from going up the inside. And that was sensible stuff from both drivers there. Smalley just waiting for a better and a safer opportunity to find a way through. What about Nicosia? There he is, just flashing through the screen there, the orange, white and blue machine. And the number 5 car that was 11th place at the restart. I don't think it's gained any ground just yet. Oh, he just did there. I think he went up the inside, possibly of Josh Steed, into the top 10 as they came through McLean's corner. So Nicosia continuing to make ground. He wants as many laps as possible here. He'll be really hoping we get a third flying lap in, which we might just do, actually, looking at the time. I agree with Joe, it's going to be tight, this. Great restart from Malin, though, and he'll be really happy to see the fighting going on behind him. That's holding them up, and if he can break the toe, that could be it.
It's the nicest thing when you're leading, as you start to see a bit of a battle emerging. It's the only thing that's going to slow them down, and you're just winning them to do that. You can sometimes kind of artificially create it when it gets close. In the slower corners, you can literally just not accelerate until later, so the guy behind can't, and that backs everyone up. And you're basically like just throwing a grenade into a pack of cars and something will explode at one point, and hopefully it's not your car. So it'd be interesting to see if he gets caught up a bit more by Much, if he kind of does that, kind of backs everyone up. And I think that's what Nicosia did to him earlier in race 2 very successfully. And it's really the only option in these things. When you can't break the toe, you're always in a dogfight.
Well, we are going to get 2 more laps in, which is good news for us, bad news for Josh Malin, but brilliant news for Jerry Nicosia, who's going to make another move now at the inside of Will Durdle. That's 8th position for Jerry. A top 5 is now not just a possibility, I think it's almost a certainty, especially because Ruben Del Sart's just been on the grass in front of him. Nicosia's not quite close enough to get alongside, though. The lead gap for Josh Malin, 6/10 of a second, which in this category is an absolute age. Joe spotted something in the background there, I think.
Just saw a little gravel kick up at Redgate. I think the guy got all the way through, so it'll be fine. It'll be awful now to have another safety car with such a short time remaining. I think everything's fine. No yellow flags come out, so we're good to keep going. This battle rages on. It is so clean. I can't imagine how well these guys are driving to be able to go this close. And so far, I haven't seen 1 inch of even like sort of side draft, banging doors. The respect across these guys has been absolutely A-star. Some of the best one-make club sort of national level racing I've seen in a long time.
No, I absolutely agree. It's been fantastic to watch as well, and it ain't over yet. Just under a lap and a half to go then. Jerry Nicosia into 8th place now from the back of the grid, and with the fastest lap to boot, which is worth a bonus point. There he goes, flicks his way through the chicane, bit of clean air now. Hugely clear air now to Danny Harrison in front of him in 6th position, who is getting a bit held up here, I think, by Scott McKenna. So there Nicosia right on their tail. That is the number 24 machine of Will Durdle, who he's just overtaken. The car in front of him is Nicosia. Behind him is Ruben Del Sart, who goes grass tracking. Now, is this lead gap coming down? It was 0.6 of a second. Gordy Much, a bit like he did in the previous race, sneaking up on us here. Could he yet challenge for the race victory? It was second place that he nicked on the last lap from Josh Malin in the previous race. This time around, the two of them are set to battle for the race lead. The gap comes down by a few hundredths. It's still just under 0.6 of a second as the time ticks to 0. Now we are confirmed to be on the final lap of our third race of the weekend for the Ginetta GT5 Challenge. Nicosia is on the tail now of Harrison and McKenna, and with McKenna defending, there's very little Harrison can do here to stop this charge from Nicosia behind.
Yeah, I think you're right here. I think P5's definitely on the cards, and that's been a championship winning recovery drive, in my opinion, from where he started in like low 20s into 30th position. That is an amazing drive. Again, doesn't look like he's got any damage on his car. And when you consider he's overtaken potentially 24 cars, not to have one scrap of damage, he's done really, really well here. I think he can get one into the chicane potentially, and then one into the last corner is his best case scenario. But there's a top 6 here hopefully for him, and that would obviously put him behind McKenna, so championship wise very small points deficit to him.
Yeah, the very juicy looking carrot dangling on the stick is that white and blue car of McKenna, then his big title rival, but there is a car between them at the moment in the shape of Danny Harrison, who was a real star performer at Silverstone last time, got his first podium finish of the year. Nicosia looking to the outside. Meanwhile, Gordy Much has had a really good exit from the chicane there in second place and might be about to force a defensive move out of Josh Malin. Yes, he has. Malin moves to the inside of the road, and with 2 corners to go, Gordy Much challenging for the race lead. Can't go out round the outside. Malin is sideways though, and Gordy Much, in his eagerness to get up the inside, I think understeered wide. Nicosia gets elbowed off the road by Harrison. So in the end, Nicosia, I think, will have to settle for a 7th place finish. What's going on at the front though? Malin hanging on to the race lead. 2nd place for Much. I think that's how they will finish. Conor Grady going around the outside of Adam Smalley for 3rd. It's been a breathless 3-lap restart dash for the flag, but it is Josh Malin that takes the flag and wins his first race of the season. Gordy Much in 2nd, Adam Smalley 3rd, Conor Grady comes home 4th, Scott McKenna 5th, then Harrison and Nicosia 7th in the end. Not bad. Would have liked a bit more. I actually think in the end the safety car probably didn't help him that much. If anything, he lost some rhythm there in the final lap or so. Probably could have got that top 5 without it. 8th place for Ruben Delsart, 9th Will Durdle, and 10th for Josh Steed. I do notice actually it started to rain as well just on that last lap, so I wonder whether that's why we had that sideways moment for Josh Malin down at the hairpin. Yes, the tyres had plenty of heat in them by that chance, but a bit of rain, if it's significant enough, could cause a few sideways moments. Yeah,
and he takes a few drops, and when you're driving at 100%, any marginal difference could be the difference of the car gripping like it did the lap before and not gripping like the lap he just had. So, yeah, good save, and I think he did just enough to stop the momentum of Much behind him. And then, yeah, as you said, he was a bit eager maybe to get going, saw the lights and everything in front of him, and it didn't quite work out. But great racing. I think, yeah, Nicosia would be happy. I think Harrison put up a fair fight, knowing it's the last lap. I think the elbows were probably a bit pointier than some of the other guys that Nicosia went past on that race.
Confirmation then of the result from our 3rd race for the Ginetta GT5 Challenge. Josh Malin with the victory, Gordy Much in 2nd, and Adam Smalley 3rd. Adam Smalley definitely still a championship contender as well, was 3rd place in his elite car coming into the weekend. Some more good points scored there. Conor Grady 4th, Scott McKenna 5th, Danny Harrison, Jerry Nicosia, Ruben Delsart, Will Durdle and Josh Steed round out the top 10. Matt Maxted and Ashley Marshall are next, with Gus Bowers, Ryan Firth and Sammy Sarah Linen rounding out the top 15. In 16th was Lewis Ryder, 17th David Elsley, and in 18th place Daniel Morris took the AM class lead after the unfortunate demise of Wesley Pearce earlier on. He really was the innocent victim out of that incident with Katie Milner. In 19th place overall, by the way, was James Townsend, 2nd in the AM class and 3rd in AM. Down in 24th overall was Phil McGarty, and they were your top 3 AM finishers. Dale Albert was 4th in AM ahead of Balsidou and the rest further behind, but the AM victories, I think in all 3 races, going to Dan Morris. Am I right? Yes, I am. First time for everything. So 3 wins this weekend for Dan Morris, and a bit lucky maybe to inherit the victory in that race, but nonetheless Dan with a really good weekend here at Donington Park. Josh Malin then, he's got that race victory now, his first one of the year. As I said, this momentum is starting to build for him now. It may be too little too late as far as the championship is concerned, but he's a driver who maybe if he comes back again next year in the GT5 Challenge, we'll be looking at as someone who's fighting right at the very sharp end. Been a good weekend this for Gordy Much as well, hasn't it? The first race of the weekend, he was only 8th, but then getting that win in race 2, a second place in race 3 as well. Another really consistent weekend for him, given the fact he hadn't been on the podium since he won that first race at Donington Park. Finding that consistency is key, isn't it? It's all well and good winning a race and then maybe getting a bit hot-headed and having a few bad results after that, but Gordy, who I think was congratulating Josh Malin there.
Yeah, lovely to see.
Yeah, it's nice to see. You spoke about the respect, didn't you, between the drivers, and we're seeing it there, aren't we? They've all just had this fierce fight for the podium places, and there they are, hugs all round, handshakes, well done, mate, good race.
No, it's brilliant, because you always have to say good luck and shake everyone's hand before a race, and you don't really mean it to another driver normally, but they have just raced so clean, so much respect, that you can see how much they've enjoyed it, and it's because it's been fair, rather than them bashing each other out the way and not really knowing who the quickest driver was. They all drove so fairly that I can imagine they've actually all enjoyed it, even though there's only one winner. The actual experience of driving like that is, the adrenaline rush is unreal.
Yeah, I think you do enjoy a good race, don't you, regardless, really. Let's Josh Malin then taking his helmet off. I think that's his first ever victory in the championship, and he's rather happy with that. Highlights then of the third race for the Ginetta GT5s, and it was from pole position Gordy Much, who did not lead into the first corner. Josh Malin from the outside of row 1 made what proved to be the pivotal move into the first corner, got through in first place. Connor Grady went to the outside where no one else was, found the dirt, promptly started to lose positions. He would eventually fall back in line in 4th place. Further back, there were a couple of cars through the gravel. They would be able to rejoin, but sadly, up at Schwann's Curve, Katie Milner spun, and the luckless Wesley Pearce was not so lucky, rammed into the side of her car and was stricken and out of the race. The safety car was therefore called for. Katie Milner dived for the pit lane for repairs, got back out, and eventually did manage to finish the race, albeit down in 25th position. On the restart, Josh Malin got a good launch, and with a 3-lap sprint to the flag, tried to pull away. He got caught on the last lap, possible rain causing a sideways moment down at the Melbourne hairpin, but Gordy Much was not able to retaliate. Jerry Nicosia was on the grass, recovered for the 7th from the back of the grid, but it was Josh Malin who got his first ever race victory and moves into the top 5s in the championship as we head to Spa.